We are going to talk a little bit about safety, shopping, the whole thing. I mean, it's a different type of year right now, and we've got Officer Anthony Gancer of the Battle Creek Police Department with us right now. Good morning, Officer Gancer.
Good morning, Tim.
Nice to have you with us this morning. And you're actually from Battle Creek, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Maybe we can get a little closer to that mic and determine if it's working, because I couldn't hear you very well. So you were actually born and raised here, or? I
was actually born down south in Alabama, but I grew up in Battle Creek, and this is considered my hometown.
I see. Which high school did you go to?
I went to Penfield High School.
Oh, all right. Penfield High School. And you've been with the department how long now?
About 5.5 years now.
Well, we're very glad to have you here today. I think one of the biggest things that our community can do, and it seems like in recent years our department has embraced this idea, and that's, get to know the officers that you have, because then when you really need to talk to one, it's easier.
Yeah, I would agree. We like to reach out to the community, and obviously we help them, and they're going to help us in the long run, and that's what we need.
Mm-hmm. And what's your day-to-day main job?
Currently, right now, I'm assigned to the gang suppression unit. I've been a part of that team for approximately 5 months. We try to curb gang activity. We work on violent crimes, and then we also assist in drug operations.
When we think about gang activity, I mean, we think about Detroit, we think about Chicago. I mean, how does it compare here in Battle Creek?
Obviously, the gangs here aren't as noticeable as they are in Detroit and Chicago, but we do have some small gangs here, and they do have their issues amongst each other. And we try and get out in the community and talk to them, even the gang members themselves, and try and stop the gang violence that goes on.
Mm-hmm. It's probably, I'm guessing, the same, though, in the big city, that a lot of these young people, they kind of get trapped in this situation, and it's hard to get out of.
That's very true, and that's why we try to get to these guys at a young age and try and maybe stop that behavior and that mentality at an early age, so it doesn't continue on.
I got a feeling they're not our biggest worry when it comes to holiday stuff. There are a lot of professional thieves out there just waiting this time of year. It's a big time for them, isn't it?
I would have to agree with you, sir.
And, of course, we've got our mall. We've got a lot of places to shop. Why don't you give us a few ideas that we probably heard these, but it doesn't hurt to hear them again, because it might save you some real grief, or for heaven's sakes, might save your life, actually thinking about some of these things.
Yes, sir. I guess to talk about some of the things females can do for themselves. Obviously, women normally carry purses. I would suggest carrying it over your shoulder and towards the front part of your body. That way, if a thief were to happen to try to take your purse, it's going to be a lot harder for him to do that, because it's around your shoulder. It's going to be coming from the front area. So if you have it secured in that area, it's going to be a lot harder, and they're probably not going to want to do it.
They're going to go for somebody who's carelessly carrying it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Same thing for men, carrying their wallets. I advise them to carry the wallet in the front right pocket, or whatever side they're comfortable with. Avoid carrying it in their back pocket. That way they can avoid being pickpocketed, and again, creating a harder resistance for the thief to take it from them.
Do we actually have people that are proficient in picking pockets in Battle Creek?
I haven't ran across that a whole lot. Obviously, it's more common in bigger cities, but you always just want to be prepared for the worst.
Sure. I take it how you carry yourself also has a lot to do with that, kind of getting back to, having somebody go after somebody else instead of you.
Yes, sir. Most definitely.
What are some things that we can do, men and women, but I would guess mostly women, when they're out in that shopping situation, to not look like an easy mark, besides the purse?
I guess a big thing would be to mainly be aware of your surroundings, be aware of who's around you and what's going on, and if someone sees that you got your head on a swivel, they're not going to want to target you, because they know that you're going to be prepared for the worst.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically, just look around.
Yeah.
Just be aware, because so many, and when it's cold, it's easy to put your head down and just plow straight forward, and just want to get to the car. But
that's very true.
Yeah, certainly. So what about Well, when we come back in just a moment, I want to ask you the obvious question. When you're shopping, you want to protect the stuff that you've bought, not only as you transport it to the vehicle, but a lot of people will move stuff into the vehicle and then go shop elsewhere, and the thieves are watching. So we'll talk more about that with Officer Anthony Gancer, the Battle Creek Police Department. We'll return in just a moment. Tim Collins in for Richard Piet today. Officer Anthony Gancer of the Battle Creek Police Department is here as we talk a little bit about holiday safety, especially right now we're talking about where shopping is concerned. And I'd like to offer a safety tip to the thieves out there, Officer Gancer.
Yes, what's that?
People like me procrastinate with our shopping, and we hate shopping anyway. So we're going to get out there maybe day after tomorrow. And we're not going to be in any mood whatsoever. So you might not want to even tangle with us.
Very understandable.
But no, seriously though, if you are going out there shopping, I guess you have to think about a lot of things. You could think about where you're parking, who you go shopping with. What are some other things that we probably know about, but it wouldn't hurt to be reminded about?
Now, like you just said, talking about parking, try and park in a well-lit area close to the building. That way, you're in a well-lit area. Mm-hmm. Thieves and robbers aren't going to want to rob somebody if they can be seen. So you're going to kind of prevent that from happening. And also, the closer you are to the building, the less distance you have to walk to and from the building. Another thing to consider is when you're going to and from every other store, when you're doing last-minute shopping, secure your valuables and the stuff that you're buying in the trunk. That way it's not in the back seat or in the front seat where it's visible to these thieves so they can see what they're going to get.
My car, I don't have a trunk. It's like a sport utility vehicle. What's the next best thing if you don't have a trunk?
If anything, if you can try and fit it under the seat, that'd be another good option. I myself also drive a pickup truck, and there's plenty of room under my seats for me to secure it under there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's something good to know. And I guess if you can invite somebody to go shopping with you, that's got to cut down on the possibility that you might be robbed on the lot.
Yes. A lot of these guys, they like to target single individuals, and if you're there with 2 or 3 other people, that's just going to make it that much more difficult for them to either rob you or pickpocket your wallet or whatever it is. So the more people that you're with, the safer it's going to be, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess some people still like to shop with cash. You have to be careful.
Yes. If you're going to be out shopping and bringing out money, just make sure you're careful about it and be mindful of who's around you. Don't be flashing large amounts of cash in front of people, because then you're just inviting someone to rob you because they see that you have a lot of money on you, and that's something that they want, obviously.
We in radio just don't have that problem, but I know probably some people do.
Yes.
If something does happen and you find that, something's been taken, credit cards and the like, what should you do?
Obviously report it immediately to the police, the authorities, and even maybe talk to one of the store clerks. They might have surveillance video there where they can find out who was responsible for stealing your property, and that can obviously only help the police. And if that person gets caught, then that's just one less person we have to worry about.
Mm-hmm. We're talking today with Officer Anthony Gancer, the Battle Creek Police Department. I want to ask you a few things, too, about travel. And, of course, we've got the new year, well, not only that, but we're going to have to get with family that we haven't seen in a while, and that may cause us to drink heavily. So maybe we need to talk about that a little bit, some safety and travel tips, and maybe winterization tips. We'll do that when we come back here shortly. Officer Anthony Gancer, a Penfield native with our Battle Creek Police Department, is with us this morning as we talk a little bit about holiday safety. And we've talked mostly about shopping and protecting yourself from thieves. Park in lighted areas. Try to go shopping with more than one person. And if you can, don't flash your cash around if you have any. And, by all means, secure your purse or wallet. That'll deter the thieves from even trying anything in the first place, hopefully. Now, another thing, about the holidays is there's a lot of travel, and I don't want to jinx it, but it looks like, knock on wood, we might luck out for at least this week, Christmas, as far as the travel goes. Looks like pretty good weather for at least right now in the forecast, but I guess we probably should start thinking about when the weather does get bad, some precautions we can take.
Yes, sir. The first thing is obviously dress appropriate for the weather. You always want to be prepared for the worst, and that's something that you can easily do yourself. Another thing is just to slow down a little bit when the weather gets bad. Don't be in a rush. Don't try and get to point A to point B in a super quick amount of time. Just take your time and get there safely. Some other things you can do is you can have a weather travel kit or safety kit. You can carry, obviously, your cell phone, make sure it's fully charged. Carry a flashlight, a blanket, maybe some extra food, some snacks, even an ice scraper and a brush and some kitty litter. That way, if you do get stuck in the snow, it can add some traction and you can get out of those bad situations.
Yep, and a lot of times, if you've got a shovel in the car, you get hung up on some deep snow where you think there's no prayer of getting out of there. A little persistence, if you've got the warm clothing, you can dig out from in the undercarriage enough to get yourself out of there if you're in a bad spot. But, cell phones, the advent of cell phones has really changed all that, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
I mean, you think about it, before we had that, you were pretty much sitting there waiting for somebody to come along, or you had a long walk through some very nasty weather. So that's helped a great deal. But, yeah, think about that a little bit. You have more in the car than just your ice scraper this time of year. And you'll be glad you did, because even with a cell phone, you may be sitting in the snowbank waiting for an hour or so. And, so you might want to be prepared in that regard. Now, what about over the hills and through the woods to grandmother's house? There'll be heavy traffic. Obviously, we want to slow down, but some other things that we want to keep in mind?
Obviously, if there is a heavy traffic, don't be bumper to bumper with somebody. Give yourself enough time to react and to brake, and that way you're not sliding into somebody and causing an accident. And just be a defensive driver. Don't try to be overly aggressive. Obviously, everyone from Michigan, we know how to usually get out of a skid or spinning in the ice. You want to turn your vehicle into whatever direction that you're spinning to correct that mistake.
The funny thing is, though, we do know, but we forget. And that first bad weather experience of the year, a lot of people make mistakes. And a lot of people, I even find myself making mistakes and close call and thinking, oh, boy, that's right. I got to remember now. It's different. And we really haven't had much of that this year. Maybe I'm thinking there might have been one day where it was pretty treacherous out there.
Yeah, I think that was last Friday.
So maybe we need to remind ourselves about that right now before it's too late. And as far as the New Year's holiday goes, that's coming up in another week or so. And even with the Christmas holiday, there will be a lot of people out there overdoing it. A couple of things we should keep in mind there.
The city has a city ordinance, and as far as fireworks are regarded, fireworks are allowed the day of, the day before, and the day after the holiday.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And another thing to keep in mind is to obviously not use fireworks under the influence of alcohol or any controlled substance if that's something that someone's going to do. Obviously, safety is number one, and that's something that we want to avoid, is a silly accident of someone being intoxicated and causing an issue.
We always hear the stories, but I think it was this past 4th of July, some professional athletes had some of their fingers blown off. And when you think about the millions of dollars those guys make with their hands, it kind of hit, for me, I think it was probably a good thing. And for a lot of people, that somebody high profile like that would do something so stupid and kind of put a mirror up in front of us, hey, these things are dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Officer Gancer, we appreciate you giving us some time today and give us some common sense things to think about here. And so we all have a safe and happy holiday. We hope you do that as well. And nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me this morning.